I'm on quarantine because of this coronavirus, so you're gonna be seeing a lot more of this face. Hi guys, what's up? So today we're going to be talking about many different things. And by many different things, I just mean a few problematic elements from one of my favorite books of all time. So let's go back. What is my favorite book of all time? My favorite book of all time is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. This is the second book of the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. And this is the second book in what I believe is going to be, it was originally supposed to be a trilogy, and now we're getting like 4 more books in this series focused on different characters, and we're getting new covers for them too. So I might do a video on the new covers because I think these covers are so much better. But today I just wanted to talk about my experience reading A Court of Mist and Fury for the first time. So back in 2017, I read this in 2017, and she's very big. She's a big girl, but I read it all, and the first time I read it, absolutely loved it. But now, since I've been talking to some people, and by talking to some people I mean I've just been scrolling through the internet, and I was looking up so many videos about Sarah J Maas and how problematic her books are, which they are. I've come to definitely realize how problematic they are and everything, but I still very much enjoy her stories and how she crafts her characters. But I just wanted to talk about the problematic aspects of her books today. More specifically, the problematic aspects I see in A Court of Mist and Fury, or Akamath, which is one of the biggest books I've ever read. It's like over 600 pages. It's like, I'm looking at the final page count now, and it is, without including the acknowledgements, it is 624 pages. So 624 pages. Just about 624 pages. So, yeah. And this is the biggest book of the series with nothing. So, anyway, I'm going to be talking about the problematic aspects of this book today, and just the many issues that I've discovered with Sarah J Maas over the past like few months. So I'm going to be talking about that today, and this video will contain spoilers for all of the books that I've read of her so far. So I've read the first 4 books of the Throne of Glass series, and I've read the first 2 books of the ACOTAR trilogy, or the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. So if you guys don't want to be spoiled for really big plot lines that happen in any of these book series, I would recommend you leave this video now. But if you guys want to stick around, you guys are more than welcome to stay around. I'm also going to be talking about her newest book that just came out, Crescent City, or House of Earth and Blood. And yeah, so I'm going to be talking about Sarah J Maas. So if you guys don't want to be spoiled, I would recommend that you leave this video. But if you guys do want to be spoiled, you're welcome to stay. And so yeah, if you guys don't want to be spoiled, I'm going to talk about spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Bye! So anyway, so we're going to start off at the very beginning with the Court of Thorns and Roses series. So now this is her newest series. Sarah J Maas has written like 13 books already. They're mostly adult books. Now here's the thing, with Sarah J Maas, man, her books started out as young adult. Throne of Glass was written back in 2012. We all remember that day. I don't remember that day because I didn't read it till like 2016. But I remember the day I read it. And I started it, and I was like, this is cool. This is an interesting story. I kind of like it. If you guys don't know what it's about an assassin who later finds out she's of like royal blood from Fae. And if you guys don't know what the Fae are, they're basically like awesome, like really cool, attractive human beings, male and female, and they're attractive human beings, and they that's really all I can think about. They're basically humans, but they have magic and pointy ears. And in this series, and in her other series too, Throne of Glass, there's a lot of sexual references that the Fae use within these books. So yeah, so all of her stories are centered on the Fae and how the Fae work, basically. And with Throne of Glass, it didn't start off as a Fae-centered story. Like, yeah, there were like little hints here and there about the Fae and how they work and everything, but it really started out as just a like standard assassin story. And the books, like, they are very different from the first two books. They're very different from the rest of the series. The series is like overall like 8 books, including the bind up and novellas, which I haven't read yet. So yeah, but those first two books are very different from the rest of the series. The first 2 books are about a woman who's an assassin. She's in a love triangle with the prince of the castle and with the captain of the guard, and she just has to choose between those 2 guys. And then in the later books in the series, there's questions about royalty and royal blood and how she might be a queen of another kingdom. And yeah, that's basically it. But with the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, it is about a huntress named Feyre. Feyre is a human, and in this world, the humans and the Fae who are also very present in this series, especially this book. They're very present in Akamath. Very present in Akamath. But basically, there's this big, huge wall that divides the Fae and the humans. The humans live on the southbound side of the wall, the Fae live on the northbound side of the wall. And it's like an invisible wall, so it's not like a physical wall that you could see, it's an invisible wall. Feyre's village is on the southbound side of the wall, and she and her family are on the verge of death almost every winter, because she is a huntress. It's a loose retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and she goes and she basically hunts for food for her family, and she brings it back to her 2 asshole sisters, because her sisters are such assholes in this series. Her 2 sisters, Nesta and Elaine, they're such assholes, but you grow to love them in this book, so yeah, I guess that's a plus. And then her father doesn't really do anything, so he's really irrelevant to the plot. So yeah, she goes out there every day, and she goes out there into the woods one day, kills a wolf. It actually turns out to be a fairy, because fairies, they can shapeshift, because they have these super cool powers. And yeah, that's basically that. A beast, a shape-shifting beast, comes to her home to kill her immediately. He goes, you can either be killed immediately outside of your home, or you can come with me and live out the rest of your days in the Feylands. So she's like, you know what? Living in the Feylands wouldn't be that bad. You know what? I'm gonna go and I'm gonna live in the Feylands. And she thinks it's so horrible, but you know what? It's not that horrible, because she has so much privilege and opportunity. She lives in this big estate with this guy and his right-hand man, and the guy's name, the shape-shifting beast, his name is Tamlin. And you know what happens in the Beauty and the Beast story. There's a curse. He's the beast, but he's not like a real beast. He could just shapeshift into a beast. There's a curse. There's romance. There's a villain. And in this book, the second book, there are some PTSD issues. There are definitely very heavy PTSD issues and PTSD in general with both Tamlin and Feyre, and just a lot of that. Just a lot of PTSD, depression. She's not really satisfied with her life with Tamlin by the end of the first book, but at the start of this book, she's definitely not satisfied with her life with Tamlin. So in the first book, we meet this man. We meet this man named Rhysand. Rhysand is the High Lord of the Night Court, so there are 7 courts. the 4 seasons: spring, summer, winter, autumn, and then you have the 3 like solar and lunar courts. You have day, dawn, and night. Rhysand is the High Lord of the Night Court. Tamlin is the High Lord of the Spring Court. So, she has to basically choose between the soft, sunshine-filled boy or the dark, moody boy. And obviously, in this book, she goes for the dark, moody boy. And you know what? It works. It really, 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 really does work in this book. But at the end of the first book, Rhysand gives Feyre this bargain deal. This bargain deal basically entails that she'll have to stay with him for 1 week every month for her whole entire life. She has to spend 1 week with him in the Night Court every month. 1 week at the Night Court with him. So that causes issues by the end of the first book. And she goes, oh, okay. And then something happens with Rhys by the end of the first book. This is gonna be spoilers for the first book, the ending of the first book, Court of Thorns and Roses. So if you guys don't want to be spoiled, leave now. But if you guys have read it, stay. If you guys have read it, stay. So at the end of the first book, Feyre has turned into one of the High Fae. She was almost killed, and all of the 7 High Lords, they give her like a piece of their magic. So she is the most powerful High Fae in the Fae world. Supposedly, but by the beginning of the second book, we're going into book 2 talk now. So at the start of book 2, Feyre is back with Tamlin in the Spring Court, and everything seems fine and dandy, but it is not dandy. It is very much a toxic, abusive relationship between her and Tamlin. Feyre is vomiting every night. She is having nightmares about the villain. Her name was Amarantha, until Tamlin killed her by slashing her throat. And so everything should be fine, but since Feyre was locked up in the dungeon during the middle half of the first book, she's not used to enclosed space. She's not used to the dark. She's vomiting every night and she's having so many nightmares. Tamlin is being a little how do I word this? He's being a little asshole, and he's not helping her with anything. She is vomiting every night while he is just laying in bed, just sleeping. And he goes, oh yeah, Feyre, are you okay? And she goes, yeah, I'm fine. But she's not fine. She is very mentally messed up, and she needs, like, real help. And she doesn't do well with, like, enclosed spaces, like I said. And her and Tamlin, like 20 pages into the book, we realize that they're engaged, and it's gonna be so great and everything. And she thinks, like, within the second page of this book, she goes, Rhysand hasn't called in his bargain yet, like his deal with her to spend 1 week at the Night Court with him. So she thinks, oh yeah, it's all over, right? Like, maybe he was just saying that for his benefit, and he's never gonna actually, like offer up on it. But the wedding day comes, man. The wedding day comes, and drama ensues. So I'm gonna read you that passage right now, because it's such a good passage. Okay, so I have the page right here. I'm gonna read it to you guys right now. Alright, so I'm gonna start. It says, help me, help me, help me, I beg someone, anyone. Begged Lucian, standing in the front row, his metal eye fixed on me. Begged Ianthe, face serene and patient and lovely within that hood. Save me, please save me, get me out, end this. That's how I felt during this entire book. Tamlin took a step toward me, concern shading those eyes. I retreated a step. No. Tamlin's mouth tightened. The crowd murmured. Silk streamers laden with globes of gold fey-light twinkled into life above and around us. Ianthe said smoothly, come, bride, and be joined with your true love. Come, bride, and let it good triumph at last. good, I was not good. I was nothing, and my soul, my eternal soul, was damned. I tried to get my treacherous lungs to draw air so I could voice the word no, no, but I didn't have to say it. Thunder cracked behind me as if two boulders had been hurled against each other. People screamed, falling back, a few vanishing outright as darkness erupted. I whirled and through the dark, drifting away like smoke on a wind. I found Rhysand straightening the lapels of his black jacket. "Hello, Farah, darling," he purred. So, that is how the book starts off. So yeah, as I was saying, that's how the book starts off. And Farah, she and Rhysand, they basically have like this mental bond where they could send down thoughts to each other's brains. It's kind of weird. But basically, yeah, her and Rhysand, they have this bond where basically they're able to send thoughts down each other's brains and they could hear each other's thoughts and everything. And they could kind of use each other's powers, which I found was really interesting. I thought that was super interesting to bring into this story. But Rhysand and Tamlin, they get into an argument, and Tamlin wants him to leave, and Rhys says, "No, I'm calling him the bargain." And he whisks Farah away to the Night Court for a week. And Farah, she's like, "Oh no, I miss Tamlin, oh no." And she says Tamlin or something like that, as like the portal that they're in fades, and she is in the Night Court for 1 week with Rhysand. And Rhysand shows her around the town and everything, and he shows her around like the Night Court and how it works and everything. And she's not used to enclosed spaces, so this is actually like very, very nice for her. The Night Court is basically on a big mountain, and built into the mountain is like the Court of Nightmares, which is like a thing that we'll get into later. And then we have this big mountain that is open and free, and it's not confining Farah to any like dark, like claustrophobic like room. So it's very free, it's very open. She says it's the most beautiful place she'd ever seen. So Rhysand already has her on that. And basically she spends a week with him at the Night Court. She meets some of his friends, she meets his cousin, and they have a really good friendship and relationship, and it's super fun. She has to go back to Tamlin, and with Rhysand, he tries to teach Farah how to read, because she didn't know how to read in the first book, so he tries to teach her how to read. And that is when their relationship starts to build into a like teasing fun relationship, but then it builds into a romantic relationship by the end of this book, and it's really good. But Farah is brought back to the Spring Court, and Tamlin is still abusive toward her. There's more abuse, and Rhysand takes her away for like an unlimited amount of time. When Tamlin locks Farah in the house and she can't do it anymore, she faints. He takes her to the Night Court away for an unlimited amount of time. She could stay there for as long as she wants, and her and Rhys, they start to grow this bond and this friendship and this really true romantic relationship throughout the next like 500 pages, because this book is big, but also that's really the only thing that happens in this. Really the only thing that happens in this book is that her and Rhysand, they form a romantic relationship throughout this book, and we find out that they're mates, which means that they're destined to be together. So yeah, and there's like romantic scenes, there's steamy scenes, there's sexual scenes between them, and yeah. But here's the thing with this book and all of Sarah J Maas books. Her books have been classified as young adult. Now this, from the cover, yeah, it looks like kind of young adult. The size kind of looks a little intimidating for a young adult, but the graphic sexual content in here is like new adult level. It could even be adult level. I have no idea, but the sexual content scenes within this book are very much new adult level. I don't think they should be read by like really young teenagers. I mean, I read this when I was like 16, so I was fine with it, but I was like, marketing should really like reconsider like their brand for like Sarah J Maas and her books, because the sexual content in this book, man, is, yes, it's entertaining. Like, it's very entertaining because really nothing happens in this book except for Feyre and Rhysand developing a romantic relationship. Nothing happens in this book besides that. There's like a plot about a king and everything, but that doesn't come into fruition until like the second half of the book. So it's basically just Feyre and Rhys having a not having a relationship, but developing a romantic relationship from there. And even a friendship they develop too. They develop a trust, and it's great. But overall, I think that Bloomsbury, who markets this? Yeah, Bloomsbury, the marketing team of this and the publisher, they should really reconsider to publish Sarah J Maas Books, especially this series, in the adult category. Now I haven't read book 3, but I'm definitely going to do a review on book 3, just because I want to know what happens. I really want to know what genuinely happens, actually. But yeah, the problematic aspects that I found within this book, and with all of Sarah J Maas books in general, is that every male character is the same. They're all white, first of all. They're all white, or they're either tan skin, but they're still white. And they're basically, like, very territorial toward their female love interests, and they have like anger issues basically. So in the Thorn and Glass series, you have like 5 main male characters. They're all the same, just with different color hair and eyes. So I'm not going to go into that. I want to go into this though, because in the first book, Tamlin, who is the High Lord of the Spring Court, like I said before, he is built up to be this really nice, sweet guy. And he was fine in book 1. But in book 2, since he ripped out someone's throat to save his girlfriend or shoe love or whatever you want to call it, he has PTSD from that. And he doesn't deal with it well. He does not deal with that well at all. He basically just like emotionally abuses Feyre throughout the entirety of like the book. And we don't see him for like a good like 450, maybe even 500 pages. So that's fine with me, because Tamlin, he kind of was brought from this like really good guy. He was a really nice guy in the first book to a complete asshole in this book. And I don't even think that's good writing. Like Sarah J Maas, she wants us to be in love with this first guy in the first book, and she wants us to really care for this first guy, which I kind of did. I didn't know where his character was going to go in this book, but I was like, that's what Sarah J Maas really does with her books, because if you read the Thorn and Glass series, the main girl, Aelin or Selena, she basically dumps one guy for the other. She will go through as many guys as she wants to until she finds her true love. And yeah, that's basically that. But you can't just build someone up in the first book and then just completely get rid of them and treat them like they're trash in another book just because you have some better option. Like, I mean, I guess you can, but that's not even good writing. That's just poor character development. Like, you could have had Tamlin, like, yes, go through PTSD, and he doesn't deal with it well, because I don't think a lot of people deal with it well, but you could have had, like, a therapist or something in this book, like a magical fae therapist. I don't know, but like, why are we treating Feyre like she's like this wounded animal who has PTSD and she could actually overcome it and she could be a better person when Tamlin has PTSD? He's just a complete lunatic and he's a complete asshole and he's not gonna get better. And he's just jealous of this other better option, Rhysand. And Rhysand is better for Feyre just because he lets her be herself, which I respect. I really respect that, and they actually grow like a really healthy relationship throughout this book. And with Tamlin, you don't even see him with this book, so you don't even know like what he's doing. Did he get help? If you read the book, you know that he didn't get help. He's still a complete ass, and he's not healthy for Feyre. So I think it's good that Feyre left, but I mean, if you're gonna like completely demote one guy from the first book to the second book and make him completely evil by the start of the second book, and even throughout the entirety of the second book, then why do you even have him? You could have just killed him off in the first book then. But I guess we have to have this better, superior option, Rhysand, right? I guess we have to have that better option. But with Rhysand, he was kind of an asshole in the first book. First of all, when he made this deal with Feyre, her arm was broken and he twisted her arm so that it would hurt to make her like make this deal with him. She was like begging him to like stop with her arm, like twisting it so that she could have died because it was infected and everything. But he twists her infected and broken arm to make her make the deal with him. And she goes, okay, I'll make the deal with you. And she was just a human at that point. So he could have killed her like that. Like it wouldn't have mattered. But yeah, so he made the deal with her. He was kind of a little mean guy. He was a little ass too. And in this book, he's completely like 180'd. He is super nice to Feyre, and he is talking about all of these things. He talks about his family and how we learn so much about his family in this book. We learn a lot about him and how in this world he can fly. He has wings. I don't know if all people have wings. I think just all of the people in the Night Court, they all have wings. So he can basically fly in this book. And he teaches Feyre basically in this book how to master her abilities, because she has one sprinkle of all of the 7 High Lords. So she has every one of their powers, and he teaches her how to use them. And that's kind of healthy, like you're teaching someone how to overcome like something that they feared for their whole lives, but now they're starting to embrace it. So she was fearful of Fae for her whole life, but now since she is a High Fae herself, a friend and even a romantic interest like Rhysand, he starts to help her overcome this fear, and he actually has her master her abilities by the end of this book. And she's still trying to master them by the end of this book, but she's mostly like overcome her fear of Tamlin by the end of this book. She knows that he is a piece of crap, and she won't take like any like crap from him. She trusts Rhysand wholeheartedly. They developed a romantic relationship throughout this book, like a real true romantic relationship. Even before she found out that they were mates, she was definitely mad at him, yeah, for good reason. But it just all like comes full circle, because like, yeah, you can Sarah J Maas basically did like the opposite. She made Tamlin good in the first book, they made him an asshole in this book. Then in Rhysand, she made him kind of an asshole, but in this book, she made him a good guy. So she kind of flip-flopped both of the main 2 love interests in this book. But I thought it was handled okay, but still, you can't like demote another character to like make another character like shine brighter than a million stars and everything, and have him be like so nice. Like, he doesn't like yeah, he explains like why he had issues. Like Rhysand, he explains to Feyre like why he has issues. Like, yeah, his family died and everything, and he had to go into the war when he was like a little kid, and he didn't know how to master his abilities, and Amarantha took me as her captive, and I had to get information for her and everything. So he basically like explained his way out of everything, and he said, I was having dreams about this human girl, and you were that human girl, and I knew that she was my mate, and I had to find her, and he found her. But like, he just explains away everything in this book. And I don't think that's right. There should be like a valid explanation. That doesn't really feel like a valid explanation though. That feels like a cop-out. And I don't know why Feyre decided to forgive him by the end of this book either. Basically, by the end of this book, Feyre and her sisters and Rhysand and his friends, they're basically all trapped by a king, and there's this cauldron. Now, in this cauldron, they're able to make humans turn into Fae. So by the end of this book, Feyre's 2 sisters, Nesta and Elaine, they're turned into the Fae, and Rhysand and his friends, they bring her sisters back with them to the Night Court. And then Feyre goes back with Tamlin, and she has the king break the bond between her and Rhysand, the mental bond, so that they can't communicate anymore. But you get one last chapter from Rhysand's point of view. And Rhysand, he basically says, oh yeah, the bond wasn't broken, and I made her High Lady of the Night Court, so now we're equals, and now she's my spy, so I can spy on Tamlin, and so that we can win a war. And yeah, it's gonna be so great, because in book 3, everything's gonna go to complete crap, but it's gonna be a good ending, and I know it. So that's what his mindset goes through. And Feyre, by the end of this second book, she's all good again. She has overcome her PTSD. She's a stronger character by the end of this book, which I appreciate. And she is going to take Tamlin down. She's going to take down his court and his kingdom from the inside out. And I'm actually very excited to read book 3. I don't know when I'm gonna read book 3, but I'm gonna read it sometime soon. So, yeah. But my main issue with this book is just the handling of how nothing really happens in this book. It's just character development and having two characters form a romantic relationship throughout the book. But also, it's just because you can't demote, like, a nice guy, turn him into a bad guy, and then promote a bad guy, and then turn him into a good guy. Like, you can't do that. Like, Sarah J Maas made Tamlin go from this super nice, sweet guy to a complete idiot and asshole, and then she makes Rhys-San go from this asshole to a really great guy. So I think that's just my main issue with this book, is that, like, she just turned them into their complete opposite characters, and she did a whole 180 on Rhys-San, which is both good and bad, just because, like, he just explains away, like, all of his wrongdoings. Like, you can't explain, like, your wrongdoings. Like, you have to give a valid explanation, I think. But overall, I still enjoy the book. If I reread it anytime soon, I'm probably gonna, like, see all those problematic elements, and I'm probably gonna, like, do, like, a whole, like, rant review like I kind of did just now. I did, like, a mini review and everything. But I think that with ACMAF, like, yeah, you can overlook its problematic elements and enjoy it, but the problematic elements, they're still there, and they're very prevalent. But overall, that was basically my in-depth discussion about how Sarah J Maas uses ACMAF to basically turn one guy into the complete opposite, basically, and how she uses, like, so much writing and so many pages to develop a romantic relationship. This is 600 pages, man. This book could have been, like, 400 pages, and it still would have been the same book. So now I'm going to go into Sarah J Maas and her new series, and how, since I haven't read her new book yet, I don't know what to expect, but I'm going to theorize what's going to happen in the second book. So yeah, I'm going to theorize what's going to happen in her new book. So if you guys don't want to be spoiled for that, even though I haven't read it, you guys can leave now and click off the video. So we're going to go and talk about Crescent City now. Alright, so now we're going to talk about Sarah J Maas' new book, Crescent City. And with this book now, I'm not going to point out any problematic elements because I haven't read it yet. So I don't know what's going to happen. But anyway, with this book, this is her first foray into adult, because it's, like, real, true adult fantasy this time, unlike with this book, which has so much graphic sexual content and emotional abuse. You think that this would be adult or new adult, and it's not. This is considered young adult, so whatever. But with this book, it's her first real foray into real adult fantasy. And this book is more of an urban fantasy. It's about a girl named Bryce, and she lives her best life. She parties all day and all night. And basically, she works at this antique parlor where, I don't really know, she just works at an antique parlor, and one day her friends are murdered, and she has to go and investigate this murder with her co-worker. I think his name is Hunt, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, his name is Hunt, and he's like an angel. And Bryce, I don't know if I've told you this, but she is a half human, half fae. So, yet again, with Sarah J Maas and her fae stories, like, I mean, I don't know, but I heard from a lot of people that this is probably Sarah J Maas' best work, like, that she's released so far. So, I mean, I don't know about that. I'm gonna read it for myself. I'm obviously gonna do, like, a review on it, probably. It's probably gonna be a rant review, because this book, it looks kind of tiny, right? But with Sarah J Maas' books, man, when she writes a big book, she uses very thin Bible pages, so they're super thin. So you could pack a lot into these pages. And this book is 799 pages, so 800 pages of probably, like, a murder investigation mixed with a romance, and if we're being honest, I probably will enjoy it, but I'm definitely gonna have some issues with it, because I've heard from a lot of people that Sarah J Maas basically uses like a lot of the same personalities with a lot of her characters. Like the main female character, she'll be like the exact same as the first two female characters in her other two series, and the main guy, he'll be like a mix of like the sad boy and the bad boy with the mysterious past. So he's gonna be like a copy and paste version of Rhysand. But I do like how Sarah J Maas will probably incorporate like a murder mystery investigation kind of storyline and plotline into it. And also it deals a lot more with urban fantasy stuff. So instead of having the Fae, we do have the Fae, but we also have vampires and werewolves and sprites and pixies and like dragons, and they're all divided up into like 4 different houses, and there's like a map and there's a chart and everything, and there's like a big map. I think I already said that, but you'll hear it again. There's a map, there is a chart, and there's a character pronunciation guide, and also we have this beautiful illustration of the main character, Bryce, I think, and the illustration looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool. But I'm very interested to see how Sarah J Maas can incorporate like different urban fantasy elements, because we've only seen her with like real, true, just like fantasy. We haven't seen her incorporate like an urban fantasy into it. I've never seen Sarah J Maas incorporate like different creatures into her books, like pixies and sprites and dragons and vampires and werewolves. So I'm very interested to see that. So I'm actually very excited to read this book. Hopefully I read it soon. So yeah, anyway, as I was saying, hopefully I can read it soon. I'm definitely gonna make a review on it, and even though it's like 800 pages, I'm gonna try to speed read through it pretty quickly, and hopefully I read it super soon. Hopefully I can get a review up for you guys, even if it's a rant review or even if it's a positive review. Who knows? Because if we're being honest, I like her writing style, I like her characters, but I just see the problematic elements. Like now, since I'm older and since I'm like very much aware of the problematic elements in her books, I could just see it. And I know that they're definitely going to be in this book. I mean, this one's 800 pages, so there's probably like a dozen times more problematic elements than there are within her first 2 series. But since this one's 800 pages, I assume there's so many more problematic elements in this one, definitely. Just because, first of all, it's 800 pages, but also it's an adult fantasy novel. So hopefully, like, some of those problematic issues can be, I don't know, like, resolved, or maybe they can't be resolved because like in Akamath, they're resolved just by explaining everything away and saying how Rhysand's such a good guy and how Tamlin's such a mean guy now. So hopefully it won't turn out like this. Hopefully by the end of this book, we'll be able to see problematic elements just like be resolved, or who knows, maybe they won't even be in here, because this is a new story, it's a new world, and it's a set of new characters. So yeah, so that was basically it. So I'm excited to read this. I'm gonna read it hopefully soon, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry that it was super long. If you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And if you guys want to see me do a review on Aquawar, or A Court of Wings and Ruin, and the novella A Court of Frost and Starlight, which I will hopefully read soon again, comment down below and say that you want to see a review from me on either Crescent City, because I'll definitely be doing a review on this definitely soon, when I read 800 pages of it, because it's 800 pages, so it's gonna take me a while to read it, but I will definitely do a review on this. And like I said before, if you guys want to see me do a review on Aquawar, or A Court of War, not A Court of War and Ruin, A Court of Wings and Ruin, and A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is the novella that goes between this series and the upcoming, like, future trilogy novels that center on a few other different characters, let me know in the comments down below, because I'll read them and I will review them for you. So yeah, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys liked it, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in my next video, okay? Bye, guys.